You're listening to Wordslinger Podcast episode 97, Merging Entertainment and Technology with MCM Milligan. This episode of the Wordslinger Podcast is brought to you by the audiobook edition of Quelo Medallion. You can find Quelo Medallion on Audible and use your Audible credit, or get Quelo Medallion for free when you go to audibletrial.com/wordslinger.
It's the Wordslinger Podcast, where story matters. Build your brand, write your book, redefine who you are. It's all about the story here. What's yours? Now, here's the guy who invented pants optional, Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger.
Wordslinger.
Hey everybody, this is Kevin Tomlinson, the Wordslinger. Thanks so much for tuning in for another week of Wordslinger hijinks, we'll say. So, I'm having a pretty good time right now. I had a pretty rocky day yesterday. The day ended with whiskey and lots of it, but it wasn't that bad actually. It was just a whole bunch of things decided to all go wrong at the exact same time. You have those days. So, anyway, we are tomorrow. My wife and we're going to run a little test. It's not really a test, but she actually has to work over the weekend, and we have to drive to Beaumont, which is a couple of hours away from where we are currently. So we're going to take the RV. We are actually moving into the RV full time in less than 2 weeks, like a week and a half. So it's pretty cool. It's a little harrowing, actually. We're kind of just wondering if, I don't know, you start to kind of question some of your decisions sometimes. And we're not really questioning anything. We're just sort of looking at it like, okay, this is real. This is going to happen. And it's time for us to suck it up and start doing what we got to do. But it ought to be interesting. And of course, I'm going to share everything that happens here, and blog posts and videos and all kinds of stuff. We're going to have all kinds of stuff. So looking forward to it. So I'm kind of getting ready to do that tomorrow. And today is a standard work day. A lot of podcasting stuff going on today. A lot of drafted digital work going on today. So it's a typical day, really. But I do have, first of all, we're going to have an amazing guest. You're going to really enjoy talking with MCM, also known as Michael. And you're going to really enjoy hearing his conversation. That was a great chat, and I have Rachel Sintez to thank for that. You'll remember her and her husband, Brian Wood, from episode 94 of the Wordslinger podcast. It was a while back, not that far back. But I want to thank her for introducing me to this guest and setting things up. Thank you, Rachel. And before we get to the great interview, though, I want to hop back just a little because I got a couple of new reviews for the Wordslinger podcast, and I really appreciate these. Now, if I butcher names or anything, I'm really sorry. I don't think I will this time. I think it's going to go pretty well. But I appreciate these, and these are very valuable. If you want to help the show succeed at all, I really do appreciate the effort and time it takes to do this. But if you would go onto iTunes, find the Wordslinger podcast, and then rate and review it. And 4 and 5 stars, that's kind of what I hope for. If you're going to rate me less than that, I don't know why you're listening. No, just kidding. I understand. But I really enjoy seeing these, and I will read them on the air. You can also leave me a voicemail. If you go to wordslingerpodcast.com, and you can click on, there's a little tab that floats on the right-hand side. You can leave me a voicemail from that tab, but you can also give me a call on your regular telephone device, whatever means you use, wireless or landline, if you still do that. You can call me at 281-809-WORD. That's 281-809-9673. Leave me a voicemail. Tell me what you think. Tell me about a guest you enjoyed. Ask me a question about writing or publishing. Ask me something to pass along to a guest, whatever you want, and I will answer that. And of course, you can email me from wordslingerpodcast.com. But now, all that said, let's take a look at the reviews that I just got in. And the first one is from Van Plank from the Netherlands. Hey, Van Flink. That's cool. I actually didn't know I had any sort of influence in the Netherlands, so that's kind of cool. The title of this one is Great Show for Writers, Readers, and All Those in Between. Van says, sorry for the swallowing there. Van says, I thoroughly enjoy listening to this show and cannot wait to hear about how the RV adventure pans out. Interesting interviews with a range of personalities that provide informative and useful information for those interested in the world of books. Thanks, Van. I really appreciate that. And, I actually can't wait to hear how the RV adventure pans out either. We're gonna have a good time, I think, and it's an adventure ahead, that's for sure. Looking forward to it. My wife's looking forward to it. Lots of things to learn, and it's interesting also that we keep meeting people who are also doing this, taking their own RV journey. So I'm going to start talking to a lot more folks about this, I think. So the next review we got in is from Houston Funny Girl from USA, and I'm guessing she's from the Houston part of USA, but or Houston. Could be Houston Funny Girl if she's in New York City, but probably Houston. So she says, and the title of this one is Fun Podcast. I enjoy this podcast every time I listen. Kevin is genuine, engaging, and has a great sense of humor. His guests are inspiring and informative. Great podcast. Thank you so much, Houston Funny Girl. And I don't know who you are exactly, but I know you're a wonderful person. But I'm kind of biased. You took the time to say nice things, and that's always going to put you on my good side. So if you would like to leave a review like those you just heard, I would appreciate it. It does help the show quite a bit in terms of discoverability and helping new people kind of stumble across us. Please feel free to go to iTunes. I think you can do this on Stitcher and Google Play as well. I tend to focus on iTunes because that's, kind of like focusing on Amazon for book reviews. It just ends up being sort of the go-to place. So there you are. Now, with all that said and done, and thank you for your support and for your kind words, and they mean a lot to me. They really do mean a lot to me. You have no idea. After a day like yesterday, I kind of like the fact that I get to hear someone say something nice. But going beyond that, let's get to this great interview with my new friend, Michael Milligan, also known as MCM Milligan. And this was an interesting conversation I think you're going to enjoy. So stick around through the interview. And at the end, of course, we'll have a quick wrap up. And I will see you there. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. And I am sitting and chatting with somebody he's in Ottawa, Canada. And we've been discussing ragweed and other allergens. Because right here in the Houston area right now, it's kind of, everything's kind of all over the place. But I'm talking to MCM Michael Milligan. Did I get that right, Michael? We'll just call you Michael. MCM is your, is that just kind of your pen name, or is that?
Yeah, it's a very bad habit going back to when I was in first grade, and I didn't want to have to write my full name out.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Excellent. Everyone should name themselves and produce their work under names that they picked in like first grade. So anyway, so we're talking about Michael, and he's among other things, he's a screenwriter, he's an author, and he's a programmer. And we've had all three of those on the show at different points, but I think this is maybe the first time I've had all three in one guest. So welcome to the show, Michael.
Oh, thank you for having me.
So tell me a little, you sounds like you're a little like me. Like you probably have dipped your toe in a whole bunch of different ponds. So tell me a little about how you came to these three titles in particular.
It's kind of, it's funny. I started off and I really wanted to write, stories and books and stuff like that, but I couldn't get, my foot in the door. This is like 20 years ago, I guess. Yeah. And so I got into animation, and I was editing animation. And once you do that for a little bit, then you meet other people, and then they say, hey, we should create animation. Yeah. And so I created my own show for animation, and I this is like in 1999 or 2000, I was like, I'm going to hire someone to make me a cool website for this. And they wanted to charge me more for that website than the entire show was going to cost to produce. And I said, you know what, I'm going to learn this myself. So then I got into programming, and then I forgot all about everything else for a while. Oh, yeah. And then I kind of turned some of that stuff back into a TV show, and that got turned into a show that actually went on the air around the world called Robots. about 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
And then working in TV, I got so frustrated with how kind of restricting TV can be. So I said, I'm going to go back into books. And then here I am.
Because you were tired of money, and you decided.
I was so tired of money. I was like, you know what? All you money, you are just weighing me down. Yeah.
But sir, you go back into books, but I mean, you didn't. I mean, you wouldn't have gone back if there had not been some advantages for you, clearly, and you've done okay for yourself then. So, I, of course, and all authors I've ever known are going to be very curious how you made that transition and made it successfully. So,
it's the weird part is when I first made the transition back, I had a show that was about to go on the air or had just gone on the air. Mm-hmm. And so people were like, oh, he must know what he's doing. And so when I got back into writing books, and I mean, I'm looking around on the web and all the people who know infinitely more than I do. And they're like, some of the people who were writing reviews of my stuff were like, oh, it's obvious that he's a really professional writer. It's like, really, because I'm making this up as I go along.
Yeah.
So, I think it was just an absolute fluke, and I like to cover my inadequacies by trying to come up with crazy stunts or bizarre ways of doing things so that nobody notices that I don't really know what I'm doing. So
keep them looking at the pinstripes and nobody notices.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's cool. I mean, what are some of those tricks? What have you done?
Well, there was. I had this idea to basically write a detective novel, except at the end of every chapter there'd basically be a multiple choice, and then it would go out on Twitter, and people would pick, what the character does next, and then I'd write the next chapter and put it up, and that went really well to the point where one of the murderers turned out to be a dog, and then at the end of the chapter, it's like, what does he decide to do? And for whatever reason, they decided they wanted the main character to punch the dog. And then I was like, this is disturbing and yet really, really interesting. So then I thought, I have to do this better because this takes too long. So I came up with an idea that I would write a novel in 3 days. And so I would write a chapter as fast as I could possibly write it and post it up with a bunch of questions asked on Twitter. And then I would integrate those answers into the next chapter, and did that for about 60,000 word novel in 3 days with no sleep.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was my favorite thing of all time. So,
yeah, that's pretty incredible. I mean, I've done a book in 3 days, but I haven't had anyone else in on the process, so it was just me and a laptop. So I think that's an advantage for me, actually, because I wasn't beholden to anybody.
Well, I've done things where I've tried to write a novel quickly without a lot of people, but you know those moments of writer's block where you're kind of like, but what should happen here? And then somebody will answer you and say spatula, and you're like,
yes.
All right,
spatula
I guess.
is the answer to all my prayers.
We'll put a spatula in there, I guess. But writing prompts are actually kind of handy when you're under the gun. So
yeah. So what about after these are done? I mean, are they successful after the fact, or?
It's funny that I've done a few of them. I took a little break, but they do really well with people paying attention when it's going on, and then you have a lot of people who kind of want to get what they were a part of right after it's finished. But then because I'm so slow at actually meticulously crafting the final version of polishing, they're commercially successful, but I get so much more of a buzz about and success just actually doing it live than I really. Yeah, it's anticlimactic when you just release it as a normal book afterwards.
I bet. So. Yeah, I mean, some of that juice. I mean, just that idea of doing it live with everyone watching, basically. I could see that being kind of a kick, And
I kind of refined the delivery system, so by the end of it, people would see each keystroke, and then you get into the fun of kind of like the person says this, and how, you know, in the normal thing in any story where what will the other character reply with, and I just kind of I wait and I wait and you just driving people a little bit crazy, and then continue. It's
Go ahead.
It's just, especially when you can see the live feedback from Facebook and Twitter, and you see the people having the reaction that you know you have when you read, and it's like, haha, suckers. I'm just gonna sit, you know what? I'm gonna go get a pizza, and you can all stew while I don't write anything.
That's
so
hilarious.
yeah.
I'm sitting here thinking, like, I know my process, and I know how many typos I have, and I know how many like wrong words I use occasionally. So I don't know if I could do this live. I'm pretty brave, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to do that live.
It's the worst thing in the world when you're doing it and the people see you use those wrong words or use the same expression over and over again, because then you write it and then everyone chants at the same time. It's like, that's wrong. Like, damn it, again.
Or it becomes like a drinking game.
Yes. If only, then I would have so much more fun.
Oh, yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, if you have, I could do a drinking game. I could live write as I drink. That would be entertaining for everybody. So, you're still writing for TV.
Yeah, it's a hard thing to get out of, because there's always something new to do, and I have a new show that's airing here in Canada and called Shutterbugs, and it's a preschool series, and co-created that and wrote a bunch of episodes. But it's one of the things. Preschool TV kind of it has a lot of constraints, and it when you do it, you know when you've started and finished, and you feel the complete package exists. But when you do a book, you blow all that away, and you can do whatever you want to do. And so it's nice to kind of switch back and forth, because occasionally I will get into the book writing mode where it's just like, oh, nobody really cares. I'm just gonna write, you know, Game of Thrones, but the verbose version. And
wait. The more verbose version of Game of Thrones.
It's like,
I think they call that the Oxford Dictionary, right?
Yeah. So it's nice to go back to TV where they say, I'm sorry, this is 12 pages. What are you doing? You can't write anymore. I'm sorry.
I mean, I've written for TV, but I actually had a little more leeway than that because I was doing documentary, but you still have those constraints, and it is very different. You're a writer for Disney Junior's Just in Time.
Wrote with my
among others, but that's the one most of my folks are going to recognize, I think.
It's a lot of the things that I'm doing recently actually are they're co-productions with Netflix, so hopefully more of my stuff will get known in other countries.
And so is it primarily children's programming, or are you doing anything beyond that?
I primarily do children's programming because it's, you know, like you write a mystery novel, everyone wants you to do another mystery novel, and as soon as you write one preschool show, everyone wants you to do preschool, and and that actually helps me write my other book things, because after you write, you know, 6 or 7 episodes of a preschool series, you really want to brutally murder someone in a story. So
that's true.
It's
that's cool. So that's so in some ways, each of those outlets is its own release, or its own sort of an antithesis of what you do everywhere else, right? So you start writing novels, and you do this intense thing, which I don't know a lot of authors who would enjoy doing that, honestly. But then when you're done with that, you can switch modes, and you do something much more structured, which is still generally intense and takes, you know, you have to do heavy deadlines.
So my God, yes.
How did you end up getting into writing for TV this way then? Especially in Ottawa. I'm curious how the guy from Ottawa.
you would be surprised. A lot of the cartoon shows that you see on TV are actually produced in Ottawa.
Really?
Just kind of secretly. You don't actually know it, but we have a huge number of animation studios here, and they like to hire local talent where possible. I only actually got into it because I pitched Rollbots kind of out of the blue. I wrote to them and I said, "Hi, I'm a programmer. I have this idea about this show about, marbles that turn into little robots. And what do you think?" And they said, "That's great." And they bought it and it was going into production. I said, "Can I write some episodes?" And they said, "All right, you can write a few." And then it was kind of just like, "Oh, well, I guess I'm pardon the pun, on a roll." So, yeah. Oh, God, yes.
It's a cool show, too, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Because once I found out who you were and all, I went and researched you, and I found it. You can watch. I don't know if this is good or bad for you, but I mean you can watch them on YouTube. So I've been watching a few episodes on YouTube because I don't have Disney Junior, or any of or anywhere where it might appear. So it's very cool.
Thank you.
You just went in and pitched it, and that was it. I hate guys like you, man.
Well,
do you know how many things I've pitched in my life?
I know. Well, it was one of those wonderful things because I was working as a programmer at the time, and I was moving from the East Coast in Ottawa, and I was moving out west for a job, and they said, it was during the .com sort of on the way out of the .com bubble, but they said, "Oh, we're so glad to have you. You move out here. We bought you a house." Well, they didn't buy me a house, but I was going to have a house. And you have a wonderful job. Go on vacation, because my wife's from Japan. They said, go to Japan and have a great vacation. And when you get back, you're going to be working your brains out. And so I said, cool. Shipped all our stuff off, got to Japan, and they said, "So the company just went out of business, and you don't have a house, and you don't have a job, and we're not actually going to pay for your stuff to be moved here, even though it's already here, so you can't have it until you pay them. It's too bad you spent all your money on this trip to Japan. We shouldn't have told you to take." So I was the lowest you can possibly get, and in that moment of desperation, I just tried pitching the thing, and I'm like, this is one of those stupid things where you buy the lottery ticket and then you feel stupid for spending your last dollar buying a lottery ticket that doesn't work. And I pitched it, and they said, "Yeah, that sounds cool." I'm like, "What? That's not how this works." So
yeah, that's cool though. I mean,
so I feel like maybe the universe was saying to me, "We'll give you this now so we can kick you later." So, yeah.
So are you now waiting for the other shoe to drop? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, it's I know it's coming. It's just the happier things get, the further they will fall.
Great attitude. Great. I don't know though. I mean, I know exactly what you mean because that's the way my life has always felt, and so I'm always kind of slightly on edge because I'm like, this is all too good. Something's going to blow up.
Yeah. It's like, and then they found out that it was me they were talking to, and they said no. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You suffer from that whole, imposter syndrome?
Oh, like you would not believe. And it never, ever, ever goes away. And sometimes it gets, it gets bigger and bigger the higher the stakes get, and you just expect the person to kind of look at you and say, "But that's not true." Yeah. And you're like, "Oh my God, you're right. I shouldn't be here." So
right, yes, to the point where I literally recently had someone contact me out of the blue, and it turned out to be one of those scams where they're trying to get you to quote settle your IRS bill over the phone. And I'm literally sitting on this call thinking to myself, this is it. I've finally been called out. They finally, and luckily came to my senses in time to realize I was being scammed and did not give any money. So, and by the way, that's an interesting, all in and of itself, that's an interesting topic, especially for you, considering you looking at your body of work. I know people who suffer from this syndrome who've only published maybe one book. And you've got several series, you've got books you've written in 72 hours, you've got quite a body of work. So where do you think that feeling comes from for you?
Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I have it in all of the things I do. And with programming, I'm like I will be the first to tell you I'm not a very good programmer. I can just get it done, and hopefully someone else will fix it later. And in screenwriting, it's kind of the same. It's, well, I know how to do it, and I think I can do a pretty good job for you, but I'm sure there's someone who can do it better that you should have hired instead. So I can't get past it, and but at the same time, I think for writers especially, it really comes in handy, because if you always have that doubt in the back of your mind, you're always going to be trying that little bit harder because you feel you have to compensate.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
yeah,
I can understand that. Yeah, I was going to say something about humility, but I think that your roll up on that is actually better, because we do kind of, if we get comfortable, that's when we lose it.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of programming do you do actually? What just web design or something else? Or
I started web design, then I got into app development, which I actually hate with an unholy passion, because it's just really, really hard to do. It's like making websites for Internet Explorer 5, and I just want nothing more to do with it. But yeah, I still volunteer sometimes, and I don't know why.
Yeah, because it's a lifeline.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Well, there's something just very wonderfully structured about code. It's either on or it's off. It's not. I don't know if I feel right about this. So yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. And you know what? I think though, because coding is this big thing now. It's been around forever. I used to program back in my engineering days, but now it's like there are government programs out there trying to get people, coders, to get into the industry and that sort of thing. So I think it's, as safety nets go, it's a pretty good one.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun, and it can be very, very lucrative. Like probably more so than anything else that you can do. But at the same time, it can be creative, but then there are a lot of companies that like to suck the creativity out of it, and then it's like we'll just see how rigid and uninteresting we can make this for you.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons why I and a lot of people I know gravitated towards indie everything, because nobody likes to make everyone else around them rich while they're toiling away in uncreative work or something.
Exactly.
Okay, speaking of creative work, I'm looking over your Amazon author profile here, and you've got quite a number of books out.
Yeah.
How many in total?
Oh God, I have absolutely no idea. I'm sorry. I should probably know that.
I should have counted before I start.
Some of them are longer ones. Some of them, about a year ago, I was before I got roped into this massive preschool project. I was working on this kind of hybridization of TV and books, where I basically wrote a bunch of episodes of a series as if it were a primetime series, and then I converted that into a book. And figured out how that worked. And so I was releasing several series, but they're in the range of 15, 20,000 word stories to a series. So they're not even, I don't even know what you would technically call it. I wouldn't call it anything other than book episodes or something.
Like,
and I was
novellas or around that.
I think they kind of fall between novella and novelette somewhere, but it kind of falls on either end. And it's like some of them are this and some are that. Yeah. So I tried doing that for a little while, and so that's why I have an insane number of things, because some of them are really just episodes and not full stories.
Don't feel bad about that, man. I do the same thing. My think tank books are all basically novella length serials and written specifically with TV in mind. So there you go. I don't know. It's one of the things that I really like about the indie space is you can say, what I feel like doing today is writing a poem that's 20,000 words, and there's somebody out there who will buy it. Yeah. Maybe. Probably not. Maybe. But, but it's there. It has the opportunity to exist in a form that someone can purchase, which is not the usual I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of times, in the past, we've never really had that kind of power.
Yeah.
And if you wrote poetry, you were pretty much just stuck with those little scam groups that were like, we'll publish your poem and you can buy a copy for $75 and share with your family and friends.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw those.
Oh yeah. Yes. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yes.
It seems like everyone I know got suckered into buying one of those books. So
Yeah. I've bought more than a few. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's your big break. That's your
Yeah.
15
Exactly.
minutes.
Yeah.
And if it inspired you to go on and do it for real somewhere, then why not? That's cool. I'm cool with it. So have you seen success with those like TV episode books so far, or
Moderate success. It was kind of a bump. I think it's one of those things where here I'm going to fall way into talking shop for a second, but
Sure.
It's one of those things where it really needed to keep going and build momentum. I had, I was structuring out a 9-episode season, and I think I only got like 3 or 4 into all of them before I got absolutely swamped with TV stuff, and I wasn't able to finish. If I kept the momentum, it probably would have worked better, and I do intend to finish them all off, but it's not a proper experiment because I can't plan my time properly. So.
Right. I understand. So, that was the intention, though. I mean, did you have a plan for them beyond publishing? Like, were you going to try to get someone to pick it up as a series, buy the property?
I've had discussions with some actual TV companies that don't do preschool, which is weird for me, and they basically thrown the ideas around at them, and they, it's the usual. If it does well as a book, then there's definitely an appetite for it, and we could definitely do something. But it's like you hear that about pretty much everything all the time.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
Yeah,
that's like a non-answer, because honestly, you could write a series of tweets, and if they did really phenomenally well with an audience, they'll make it into a movie or a TV show. I mean, look at I'm going to clean this up a little bit. Look at Stuff My Dad Says.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it was. So, so that's a non-answer.
Yeah, it's like, oh, thank you for that. That's so what you're saying is if I become fantastically wealthy off of my hard work, then you will give me a little bit of money
throw
on the
me
side.
A bone, yeah.
That's really, oh boy, thanks for getting in on the ground floor. So
you mentioned that you guys, you're kind of partnering with someone who's developing for Netflix.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you honestly that Netflix is one of the most exciting things in the world to me from a creator standpoint, and I've talked to a few folks who are developing original Netflix series, and I've had a few folks like that on the show or on other shows I host, and I'm always curious about how they work in the background. So if you have stories, this is the time to share them.
Well, it's they're like. I know that it'll come off as potentially insincere to some people, but they are like seriously the best people in the universe to work with.
Yeah.
Just from the, you pitch something, and in a lot of cases you'll pitch something to a production company, and there's the desire to give notes for the sake of giving notes because a producer produces, so they have to say something, and other times the vision won't quite mesh, and every single time I've done anything with Netflix, the comments are immediately just like, if something doesn't actually make any sense, which admittedly happens a lot with me, but if they say that makes no sense, here's how you should fix it, you fix it, and otherwise their comments are basically like, I really love that, this works really well, let's go with it. And so you're kind of like, did Netflix give comments on this script? I can't see anything. And there it is, up at the top, that one line. So
wow, that's pretty incredible.
It's and for me as a creator of that type of content, I haven't actually pitched anything directly to them because I'm terrified and imposter syndrome. But I have that. You see it with other people who work with them. It's like they see things that are good, and they will basically make it happen. Whereas other like the show that I just that just started airing up here is it was in the works for close to 3 years to get the financing all secured.
Yeah.
Because there's just so many moving pieces, and Netflix can step in on a show and say, "Yeah, I like it. Let's do it. 2 seasons maybe," and you're away to the races. There's nothing else to do. So, except for actually all the work, but but it's a very different experience, and I know there are people who are scared of them, but it's from the ground level. It's just like, wow, yes, let's do this again.
So how do you, I mean, you don't have to give away any trade secrets or anything here, but I mean, how are you guys approaching Netflix? Like, how do you pitch something to them?
Well, for the most part, you, as strange as it sounds, you can actually just you write to them or call them more likely. And well, okay, I should say I have an agent who does that, so I don't.
Okay.
It could actually be you're sacrificing people. I don't 100% know.
Yes.
I know that he used to have 2 kids, and now he has 1. Who knows? But yeah. It's you just ask very nicely, and then you tell them what you have, and you give them the pitch, and then I think pretty much like everywhere else, they disappear and you never hear from them again. Or that's what happens with me anyway. So yeah. So
okay, all right, that's cool. That's cool. I actually, a few years ago, before they started getting into the business of original programming, I had approached them via email, really. But I mean, I approached them about a series idea, and, years later they started doing this stuff. But I was pretty early, and they hadn't really gotten to that point yet, and they just turned me down flat and said, we don't do that. And then 2-3 years later, they're doing exactly that. So
yeah.
I guess it's just about timing.
it's always about. I hate it when that happens. It's just frustrating.
Or maybe my idea sucked. I'm not going to discount that. The idea could have sucked.
It's the timing. It's just the timing.
It's only the timing. Yeah. So what's on your plate right now? What's the most recent thing you got?
Well, I'm in the finishing stages of a new app. It's another experimental thing. It's an app book where it's a story told through text, emails, and photos, but it plays in real time. So if the characters are having a conversation at 2:00 in the afternoon, then you'll see like a message come in, and then there's a pause and the next message, and it plays out in real time across 7 days. So you basically watch it unfold over a period of time, and I'm just going through the bug fixing part of that, which is lovely, and then that should be released.
That's a fascinating, like you're meshing 2 possibly more bits and pieces of your creative work. That's really interesting.
It's it's very it's like you write it like a novel, you structure it like a screenplay, and then you put it. I had to write a whole markup language to handle it, because there's the question of the person who starts to write something, so you see the 3 little dots appear, and then they think a little more, so it disappears, and then they start again, and then it goes away, and you have to put all the and then build something to time that so you can perform it, and it's really it's a it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun.
That's pretty cool, though. Yeah. I've yet to hear of anything like that. Of course, for all I know, there may be 2,000 apps like that on the iTunes store or whatever, but I've yet to hear of anything like that. So that's pretty awesome.
Well, that makes me feel better, because I'm pretty sure there are like millions of these things out there, and I just haven't found them.
You know what? It doesn't matter who's already done it. It only matters who gets it to people fastest and best.
Yes.
So
that's. Yes. Yeah. So I guess the person who comes after me then. So,
right. Yeah. All right. Well, look, we're at time, which is too bad, actually, because I'm enjoying this, and it sounds like you and I have a lot in common. But you did most of the other things I didn't do much better than I did them. So we'll have to chat again sometime. But I appreciate. Where can people find you online?
Best place to find me is mcm.1889.ca.
Okay.
And from there, it leads to all of my other things.
Is there a story behind the URL?
Well, it's I was starting an indie publishing company a few years ago, and I needed to have a URL, and I wanted it to be just 4 digits. And so I basically went through all of the 4 digits that I could find that were available, and that was the first one that I actually liked. There were a few others, but they kind of related to mass genocides, and I didn't want to pick those as my URL.
It's always it's a good rule of thumb is to avoid mass genocide.
Exactly.
Rule of thumb, everyone. All right. Okay, so I appreciate you being on, man. I'm glad we had a chance to talk. I just subscribed, I guess. I just clicked follow on your author page, so I'm going to be watching you.
Thank you.
So produce stuff, and you have to tell me when you have this app out when that releases, because I want to see it. I think that's going to be pretty cool.
I hope so.
All right. Well, okay. So you stick around, Michael, real quick.
Yep.
And for everyone else, you hang out. You're probably hearing some nifty, cool music right now. And when it's all over, I'll give you the wrap up for the show. So thanks so much, Michael, for being on. Everyone else, hang out. Talk to you soon. All right, that was Michael Milligan. I hope you enjoyed that. A lot of interesting things. I've worked in television and film, and not really the type of television that Michael works in, but I've done some stuff. I understand the world somewhat, and I always find it fascinating. And the whole Netflix thing, by the way, that's become a bucket list item for me to eventually, because I think you probably know this story by now, but when I wrote my Citadel series, that started as me, my brother-in-law, and a good friend developing something we wanted to see as a web series, and this was prior to Netflix doing that sort of thing. So there's been a secret little passion of mine tucked away to see something I've created on Netflix or somewhere like it. So never know. Now I have an in. No. Sorry, Michael. I don't think that's the way it works. But I hope you enjoyed this interview. I truly did. I like Michael quite a bit, by the way, and I hope I can keep in touch as time goes by. I try to keep in touch with everybody that's on the show. It gets a little difficult after nearly 100 shows. Nearly 100. We got 3 episodes before I hit 100. I'm going to have to do something special. And I probably won't. I probably will forget all together until the day I record. And so I won't prepare anything in advance because that's just not what I do. Total pantser that I am. But I appreciate you sticking around through 97 episodes. And I hope you really enjoyed this episode in particular. If you're interested in TV and writing for different types of media and that sort of thing, I think, first of all, this was a great episode for you. But you might also enjoy listening in on the Creative Writing Career podcast that I co-host with Justin Sloan and sometimes Stefan Bugay. Stefan's been working on a movie and has been out of the loop. It's been very difficult for us to all three be in the same space, I guess, same virtual space together. So it's been a little difficult to have him on the show lately, but you would still enjoy that. Go look up Creative Writing Career podcast or Creative Writing Career on iTunes in particular. If you go to creativewritingcareer.com, you'll see the podcast there as well. So check that out. That's an interesting show if you're interested in creative writing in general, not just for writing books, but also for writing for games, for film and television, for comic books and graphic novels. Anything that you can think of that is related to the field of writing creatively, we cover on the show. So check it out. And that's going to do it for this week's Word Slinger podcast. Stick around, man. It's happening. The happening. It is happening. We are actually literally moving into the RV very soon. I know it's been the biggest buildup ever. And it's going to be so anticlimactic because it's just going to be like, we're in the RV now. This is where we live. So I can't think of any way to make that exciting, but we'll give it a shot. So stick around for that. I'm going to launch something around that, I hope, as if I needed one more thing to worry about. Whatever, workload. It's just what it is. It just keeps growing. But in the creative stuff, and it's so hard to say no because always so much fun, and always it gives me a chance to interact with you more. Which is just, an amazing honor and privilege, but also quite a bit of fun. So The unofficial sponsor of the show, of course, is Draft to Digital, and I hope that you are, if you are considering publishing at all. There's lots of argument right now. It's actually interesting. There is a trend right now that all the authors who went very exclusive to, say, KDP Select and got into the Kindle Unlimited program, after this debacle with Amazon's page flips and a lot of page reads not counting for authors, a lot of authors are shifting and going wide, which, that's got its ups and downs. I hate to hear it, actually, in one respect, because I know a lot of authors took a heavy hit on their income because of this, which stinks. And I still have a couple of books that are in Kindle Unlimited myself, so I did get affected by this whole thing. So I know exactly where your pain comes from, trust me. But if you are considering going wide, I hope you'll take a look at Draft to Digital. It is, of course, my highly biased opinion as their director of marketing, full disclosure. But I mean, before I ever set foot in the place, it was always my favorite way to distribute to multiple venues at once. I love the dashboard that helps me kind of check out sales, see how things are trending. New tools like the universal book links. I completely revamped my book page at kevintomlinson.com/books. If you go there, every book now uses a universal book link so that regardless of your favorite e-reader, you can click on a book and buy it at your e-retailer. So, and you can make that your default store. So that every time you click on a universal book link, it takes you to that store. So that's a way to make things easier on you. It's a single click between you and your readers if you're an author, rather than, there is that one time where you have to click on it, see the page full of links, make a choice. But after that, the reader can select the store of their preference, and that includes regional stores for like Amazon and other retailers. So that's a great tool. It's one of my favorite things, and I helped launch it. So I am biased, but I still think it's awesome. So anyway, go check that out at draft2digital.com. That's draft2digital.com. They are, of course, an unofficial sponsor of the show, only because I am their director of marketing and I get to say so. There you go. No money exchanged hands during this free promo. So this is all me, and I love working with these guys. Here's the best testimonial I can give. This is a group of people who truly are dedicated to the idea of helping the author succeed. And the only way they make any money, they don't make a dime off of any of the things that they build. They don't make any money selling any service or any product. The only way we make money is when someone buys your book. If you publish through us, we get a 10% cut of the retail price of the book. And that's it. That's it. So you can convert your book for free. You can use that conversion, just spread it all over the web. You don't even have to use us to distribute it. You can just use us as a conversion tool if that's all you really want to do. You can, and you just sign up and do that. That's not even, you don't have to publish through us at all. You can use us for the universal book links. You don't even have to sign up to use those. Although if you do sign up, first of all, it is free. But you get a few extra features like being able to use you can create a custom URL, or you can also track where your links are pointing people. So the number of clicks you get, say for Amazon or Apple iBooks or whatever, all that. So the service, the company itself, our goal is author success, and we don't succeed unless you succeed. So. And I'm pretty cool with that. I mean, as an author, I always thought that was awesome anyway, but being on the other side of it, I love the fact that I get to help other indie authors do this stuff. It's just, it's the biggest kick in the world, honestly. I don't know. I could fanboy out about my own company here for a while, but we're just gonna wrap it up there. Go check out draft2digital.com. That's draft number 2digital.com. You can also check out books2read.com, where you can find the universal book links. If you're a reader, go check that out, because that site's going to be built around you, and it's growing. So definitely keep your eye on it. So that's it for this week on the Word Slinger podcast. I appreciate you being here, being a part of the fun, being a part of the passion and the growth of this thing. And I would definitely love to hear from you. Please go and leave a review on iTunes. Just look up Word Slinger podcast on your favorite podcast platform, whatever it happens to be, and leave me a review. I get a little email. It takes a while sometimes, but I get an email that tells me when I've gotten a new review, and I read those on the air. And of course, you can call me at 281-809-WORD. That's 281-809-9673, and leave me a voicemail. If you don't want me to play that on the air, just say so. I'm fine with that too. But say anything you like on that. I do reserve the right to not play something if it turns out to be offensive in some way, but that's never happened. So, but I just want the caveat out there. You can also leave me a voicemail. If you go to wordslingerpodcast.com, you can click on the Send Voicemail tab on the right-hand side of the screen and use SpeakPipe to leave me a voicemail. You can email me from that site at wordslingerpodcast.com. And if you want to support the show financially, I do appreciate that. And those of you who are doing it, I am honored by your patronage. I really am, and I cannot thank you enough. God bless you. But there is a large button on the wordslingerpodcast.com website where you can click. It says support the Wordslinger podcast on Patreon. Click that and you can make a donation to the show, and it can be a recurring thing. And even if it's just like $1 a month, it's very helpful. I do appreciate it. You can also find that at the bottom of the show notes or embedded in the show notes for every episode. So that's it. And I hope you're having a great time right now. It is, we're kind of edging toward the middle of November. I don't know where October went. It just up and left. But we are edging toward the middle of November now, and I guess we're early November right now. But I'm hoping for fall. I mean, I'm hoping to see an actual fall season, and that's part of the reason we're getting in the RV. So if fall doesn't happen where we are, we can go where it's happening. That's my favorite season. It's my wife's favorite season, and kind of wish I could see it right now, especially the cool temperatures. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next week on the Word Slinger podcast. Until then, God bless. Take care.